Can you make tea without a teapot? In this video, we're going to find out. We'll show you some ways to make loose leaf green tea without a teapot. We'll also tell you a little bit about the advantages and downsides of each method and how the tea will taste as a result. Before we get started, it would really mean a lot to us if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned for future tea videos. We have hundreds of videos on all sorts of topics related to Japanese green tea, but for this episode, we're going to focus on brewing tea without a teapot specifically. Without further ado, let's get started. So let's start by talking about the most important factors when it comes to brewing tea. First of all, you want to give the leaves space to expand and release their flavor, while still having a way to separate the leaves from the water and stop the brewing. This second task is important because if you don't have a way to remove the leaves from the water, the tea will overbrew and become very bitter. A teapot like this clay Kyusu accomplishes both of these tasks. But if you don't have one of these, what are some of the alternatives? First, we have the Teabag. If you've been watching this channel at all, you know that we really discourage using tea bags for preparing teas, but there are a few caveats to this. The reason we recommend not using tea bags is that they tend to contain very low quality leaves. These leaves are made from the leftover parts of the tea plant, and they are ground into a dust. You're much better off going for premium, loose leaf tea, which will have a much smoother taste and a broader spectrum of flavors. We understand that the reason most people use tea bags is because they're quicker to prepare, so we actually recommend you prepare your own tea bags. You can get these empty tea bags online and fill them with your favorite loose leaf tea. This allows you to easily separate the leaves from the tea and stop the infusion at the right moment. But you can also use higher quality loose leaf tea to prepare them. The benefit of using these homemade tea bags is that they take up very little space and weight, so it can be good for travel. You can pack a couple of these when you go on a trip and never be more than a minute or two away from decent quality green tea. The major downside is that the tea bags are actually not a good way to brew tea, even if they do contain high quality tea leaves. Tea bags contain other materials like paper, plastic, and glue, which can release chemicals into your cup of tea, particularly when they are exposed to hot water. This is not only bad for your health, but it's also really bad for the taste of the tea. We recommend to use these silk tea bags that you can find in Japan, but even then there is a slight flavor imparted on the tea when you brew it. It's best to brew teas with just leaves and water in order to maximize the flavor. In addition to the chemicals in the tea bags affecting the flavor, the tea bag also doesn't allow the leaves enough space to expand and release their flavor into the water. When the leaves are packed into a tight space like this, they don't produce as much flavor and you end up with a watery tea. To produce a better tea without a teapot, we would need to get a larger container to brew the leaves in. So what about using a tea infuser or tea strainer to brew tea? Well, as we mentioned before, it all comes down to the amount of space you're giving the leaves. For this reason, not all strainers are created equal. The worst strainers for preparing tea are probably these ball strainers or tea infusers. These simply do not allow the leaves enough room when you're brewing a cup of tea. If you're using 5 grams of leaves, they will expand to a size much larger than this tiny tea infuser, which shows you just how much space they need. You may be thinking that you can just put a small pinch of leaves into this tea strainer and stick it in a cup of water, but this will make the tea weak and watery. To make a super flavorful cup of Japanese green tea, you should be using 5 grams of leaves and 150 milliliters of water. You will soon find that it's better to have a small quantity of great tasting tea rather than having a larger quantity of watered down tea. If you don't have a teapot at home and you have to use a strainer, we recommend you use one of these large cylindrical tea strainers and put it directly into a cup of water. This will give the leaves much more space compared to a tea bag, and it will make it easy to separate them out after the brewing is complete. The benefits of the strainer is that they can be bought quite cheaply and they are very light, making them suitable for traveling. The downside, as mentioned before, is that they don't provide quite as much space compared to the teapot. You'll see after you prepare tea from a strainer, the tea leaves will be packed into the exact shape of the strainer, and the tea will be slightly weaker in flavor compared to tea brewed in a Kyusu teapot. So what if there was a method that combined the leaf separation of the strainer with the space of the teapot? This is a method you should be able to accomplish using just the materials you have at home. Just get a glass or even a bowl, put in 5 grams of tea leaves, and pour in 150 milliliters of warm water. After the brewing time is up, you can pour the tea through the strainer and into another cup for drinking. This will stop the infusion, keep the tea leaves out of your cup, and it will also allow them the space they need to brew a great tasting green tea. The one drawback of this method is that it uses 2 pieces of equipment instead of 1. To find the best alternative to a teapot, we'll have to venture into the world of coffee. The French press is perhaps one of the best teapot alternatives you'll have in your house. This is normally meant to brew coffee, but it can also be used to brew tea. All you need to do is fill up the pitcher with 5 grams of leaves, pour in 150 milliliters of water, and let the tea leaves sit. When the brewing time is up, you can push the plunger down and stop the infusion. The 2 things to be mindful of here is that you shouldn't squeeze the tea leaves with the plunger, as this will release a lot of their bitterness. Second, when the plunger is pushed down, it does not completely completely stop the infusion, it simply slows it down. This is important because if you leave the leaves sitting in the French press for a longer time, the tea will become very bitter. So with all these tea brewing alternatives, why do we still recommend the Kyusu teapot? Let's briefly discuss what the Kyusu teapot is and why it's the best tool for preparing Japanese green tea. The Kyusu is a clay teapot that has its roots as far back as the Song dynasty, and it's still used today in high-end tea shops all around Japan. It's made from clay, which can actually improve the flavor of the tea being prepared in it. If the teapot is unglazed, the clay reacts directly with the tea inside to reduce the bitterness and accentuate the savory flavors. This is particularly important for Japanese green teas, as they tend to be known for this sweet and savory or umami flavor. Another benefit to the Kyusu teapot is the built-in side handle. This is one of the features that sets the Kyusu teapot apart from other traditional clay teapots. The side handle is hollow, so it stays cool to the touch, even when the teapot is filled with boiling water. It also allows for more refined movements when you are pouring the tea. All it takes is a simple turn of the wrist to pour out a cup of this delicious green tea. Finally, one last feature that makes the Kyusu teapot perfect is the built-in strainer. This strainer is either made out of metal or it's carved directly into the clay. This automatically filters out the tea leaves as you pour, so the tea doesn't overbrew. The convenience and elegance of the Kyusu teapot makes it difficult to beat when it comes to preparing Japanese green tea. There are a few ways to brew green tea if you don't have one of these at home, but we are offering a free Kyusu teapot to everyone that signs up for the monthly tea club. With the monthly tea club, we'll send you 2 packs of Japanese green tea every month at a 16% discount or more. This is a great way to try different types of tea from all over Japan and also save money while doing so. With your first month, we'll send you your very own clay Kyusu teapot, produced in Tokoname, Japan, known for producing the best clay pottery in the whole country. This will help you prepare Japanese green tea like a pro, without shelling out all that extra money for new brewing equipment. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to learn more about Japanese green tea, you can find hundreds of other tea videos on our channel. If you'd like to support us, we would really appreciate if you could try some of our teas, like this video, or subscribe to see more videos in the future. If you have any questions about green tea, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Until then, we'll see you next time.